Last year, Kawasaki unveiled the new ZX25R at the Tokyo Motor Show, and you guys absolutely loved it. That video on my channel has almost 1 million views, and just this week Kawasaki have released pictures and specs of a race-ready version. It looks incredible, so in today's video we're going to go through everything we know about it. But before we get started, if you're new here and you want to see more of the latest motorcycle news like this right here on YouTube, please do remember to hit subscribe. Let's start with a recap on the ZX25R. The thing that really seemed to resonate with people in the comments is that it'll be powered by an inline-4 producing about 45 horsepower, kind of like an old school 80s or 90s Japanese 250. Most small capacity bikes nowadays are either singles or parallel twins that favour low rev torque, but the ZX25R's liquid-cooled 16-valve motor will spin up to 17,000 RPM, giving it that signature scream that seems to remind everyone of the little bikes that they had in their younger days. But it's not just a nostalgia trip, the bike is pretty up to date. The bodywork is in line with the rest of the Ninja range and uses an all-new trellis frame design which also has a hint of their larger bikes. They haven't cheaped out on equipment either, with a show separate function big piston fork, which is much higher spec than you'd expect to see in this class. There's also a horizontal backlink shock and a radially mounted 4-pot monoblock brake caliper at the front, which ought to be more than enough for a relatively slender machine like this. It even gets some rider aids with Kawasaki's traction control system, a ride-by-wire throttle with selectable power modes, and even a quick shifter. At a time where large capacity sports bikes are reaching 200 horsepower and above, which is hard to use on the road, it seems as though people appreciate a lower powered bike, albeit lightweight and with great equipment and tech. But before you all get too excited, it looks as though the ZX25R is primarily aimed at the Asian market, with most of the promotional material appearing on the Kawasaki Indonesia YouTube channel, not the global ones. And the bike has mainly been spotted testing near the Indonesian Kawasaki plant. And it makes total sense, Indonesia has especially high taxes on large capacity motorcycles, so the ZX25R could offer a taste of Kawasaki's sporting pedigree without breaking the bank for Indonesian riders. In fact, the Indonesian launch of this bike was scheduled for this weekend, the 4th of April to be precise. But that date has been put back because of the pandemic we're all currently enduring, so it might be a few more months before we get the full reveal. Here's hoping they do launch it in other markets. There are certainly plenty of positive comments about the bike from all over the world on my last video. Whether it's actually commercially viable, especially with emissions regulations to comply with, is another matter. But fortunately, we now have images of a race version of the ZX25R to feast our eyes upon whilst we wait for the launch of the stock bike. It comes as Kawasaki announced that they'll be running a one-make series for it in Japan in 2021, although they won't be selling this race model directly to teams. They'll be expected to buy the stock ZX25R and then fit the aftermarket parts themselves. But in the pictures we can see a bunch of tasty changes here, and I have the details to hand too. The fairing is made by Japanese performance parts manufacturer ATEC from their Black Diamond range. It's carbon, which ought to help make this already light bike even lighter, and is finished in clear gloss here with some black panels and subtle Kawasaki graphics. ATEC also supply a carbon racing seat cowl and tank cover, and in the photos you can also see carbon covers used on the frame, subframe, swing arm, brake caliper, and the front mudguard and hugger on the rear. And of course, with this racing bodywork, all of the road homologation clutter like lights, indicators and license plate are gone, leaving a very sleek looking machine, especially in this carbon and black finish. The exhaust is made by Beat Japan and is their Nasat R Evolution Type 2 race prototype, and is of course a full system. You can see a peep of the headers through the front of the fairings there. 45 horsepower is already pretty decent for a small bike like this, but the full system ought to add a few more, and with the weight shed by the carbon fairings and removal of the road equipment, it will make for a significantly better power to weight ratio. Tyres have also been swapped out for track-ready Dunlop Sportmax Alpha 13 SPs, adding more grip than the stock road tyres, and the yellow painted Dunlop logos are a nice touch too. The front suspension is already pretty high-spec for a small capacity bike, using Showa's separate function big piston upside-down forks as we've already mentioned. But a titanium nitride coating has been applied to the inner fork tubes, which is intended to reduce friction over the standard chrome finish and therefore improve the fork's performance. It also adds a bit of bling with this blue-green finish. The rear suspension has been swapped out for a Showa unit from the ZX10R. We don't have the full details of the stock bike's suspension yet, but presumably the ZX10R shock has been used here to offer more adjustment so that teams can dial in their precise settings to get the best lap times out of the bike. Hardware has also been upgraded to give more adjustment, with Sniper providing rear sets, 6-way adjustable brake and clutch levers, and carbon lever guards to protect them if the bike goes down. Overall, I'm sure you'll agree it makes for a sweet looking ride. How long the launch of the stock bike will be pushed back by, I'm not sure, and Kawasaki aren't the only ones struggling with bike launches at the moment. Manufacturers are forced to either delay them or launch their bikes with online events like Ducati and Honda both did last week. As soon as I hear anything though, I'll be sure to upload a video. Let me know what you think of this Race-Spec ZX25R in the comments below. I always enjoy reading your thoughts. And do you think that Kawasaki will launch the stock bike in the country you live in, or will it be an Asia-only model? Let me know your best guess in the comments, and if you're new here and you want to see more videos like this, hit subscribe and I'll catch you next time.